Hi, I'm Mary Ann, and I will be continuing the discussion on Chapter 5, Client Acceptance. We are now on 5.8, the Audit Engagement Letter. I'm going to discuss the seventh and last procedure under Phase 1 of the audit process model, which is obtaining engagement letter. So what is an engagement letter? According to Principles of Auditing by Hayes, Dassen, Schilder, and Wallage, an auditor's engagement letter documents and confirms his acceptance of the appointment, the objective and scope of the audit, the extent of auditor responsibilities to the client, and the form of any reports. It describes the auditor's purpose, that the audit entails study of internal control, the time schedule of the engagement, and fees. It is a formal agreement between accounting or auditing firm and the client for the conduct of audit and related services. I think it is done to protect both the interest of the client and the auditor to avoid misunderstanding during the audit engagement. So, nagbibigay po ang auditor ng engagement letter sa client para formal na tanggapin yung audit engagement and mailahad din kung ano yung scope, objectives, limitations, and responsibilities during the engagement audit. Let us now proceed to the contents of the engagement letter. According to the Philippine Standards on Auditing or the PSA 210, Paragraph 10, the agreed terms of the audit engagement shall be recorded in an audit engagement letter or other suitable form of written agreement and shall include the objective and scope of the audit of the financial statements, the responsibilities of the auditor, the responsibilities of the management, identification of the applicable financial reporting framework for the preparation of the financial statements, and reference to the expected form and content of any reports to be issued by the auditor, and a statement that there may be circumstances in which a report may differ from its expected form and content. The main objective of the audit is to provide or express an opinion on the financial statements. The auditor's responsibility is to form and express an opinion and provide a reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatements or errors. Management's responsibility is the preparation and presentation of financial statements in accordance with the financial reporting framework or standard. The disclosure of standards to be used is also presented in the content of the engagement letter, and that the auditors will provide only reasonable and not absolute assurance whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements or errors. Here I presented the paragraph A23 of PSA 210, which I think is just a more specific example of what is written in paragraph 10 of PSA 210. So these examples include elaboration of the scope of the audit, including reference to applicable legislation, regulations, PSAs, and ethical and other pronouncements of professional bodies to which the auditor adheres, the form of any other's communication of results of the audit engagement, the fact that because of the inherent limitations of an audit, together with the inherent limitations of internal control, there is an unavoidable risk that some material misstatements may not be detected even though the audit is properly planned and performed in accordance with PSAs. Arrangements regarding the planning and performance of the audit, including the composition of the audit team. The expectation that management will provide written representations, the agreement of management to make available to the auditor draft financial statements and any accompanying other information in time to allow the auditor to complete the audit in accordance with the proposed timetable, the agreement of management to inform the auditor of facts that may affect the financial statements of which management may become aware during the period from the date of the auditor's report to the date the financial statements are issued, the basis on which fees are computed and any billing arrangements, and a request for management to acknowledge receipt of the audit engagement letter and to agree to the terms of the engagement outlined therein. Let us now go to recurring audits. Recurring audits are done to regular clients of the auditor. So, according to PSA 210, paragraph 828, the auditor may decide not to send a new audit engagement letter or other written agreement each period. However, the following factors may make it appropriate to revise the terms of the audit engagement or to remind the entity of existing terms. So, itong mga factors na to, pwedeng nakakaapekto kasi siya sa auditing engagement. Kaya kailangan i-revise yung engagement letter para mas clear and maiwasan yung misunderstanding between the client and the auditor. So, the factors may be indication that the entity misunderstands the objective and scope of the audit, or any revised or special terms of the audit engagement, a recent change of senior management, a significant change in ownership, a significant change in nature or size of the entity's business, a change in legal or regulatory requirements, a change in the financial reporting framework adopted in the preparation of the financial statements, and a change in other reporting requirements. Last is the audits of components. If the auditor reviews both the parent and a subsidiary, a branch or a division of the company, he may consider sending a separate engagement letter to that component business. According to PSA 210 or paragraph 825, when the auditor of a parent entity is also the auditor of a component, the factors that may influence the decision whether to send a separate audit engagement letter to the component include the following: who appoints the component auditor, whether a separate auditor's report is to be issued on the component, legal requirements in relation to audit appointments, the degree of ownership by parent, and the degree of independence of the component management from the parent entity. This is an example of an engagement letter as provided by the Philippine Standards on Auditing 210. So the first part of the letter is the objectives and the scope of the audit. The scope of the audit includes financial statements of ABC Company, which comprise the balance sheet, the income statement, the statement of changes in equity, and cash flow statement for the year ended, and a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. While the objective is to express an opinion on the financial statements. The second part, the preceding part, is about the auditor's responsibility and limitations for risk in material misstatements. So, the responsibility of the auditor is to conduct an audit in accordance with PSA or Philippine Standards on Auditing, and perform procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. In terms of limitations for risk in material misstatements, um, it is disclosed here that because of the inherent limitations of an audit, together with the inherent limitations of internal control, there is an unavoidable risk that some material misstatements may not be detected even though the audit is properly planned and performed in accordance with PSAs. So the next content of the letter of engagement sample is the management's responsibility and identification of the applicable financial reporting framework. So, as stated here, the management of the responsibility to prepare and present fairly the financial statements that are free from material misstatements and in accordance and is in accordance with Philippine financial reporting standards. It is also the management's responsibility to provide the auditors with access to all information that is relevant in preparation of the financial statements, and unrestricted access to persons within the entity from whom the auditors determine it necessary to obtain audit evidence. Here at the bottom part, the management is also responsible for providing written confirmation concerning representations made to the auditor in connection with the audit engagement. So this is the last part of the engagement letter, which requires the client to sign and return the copy of this letter, which indicates the client's acknowledgement and agreement of the auditor's arrangement of responsibilities.